Alright everyone, we start off today with a increasingly bizarre story actually that I got tipped off about, which is that there was a shooting in Denver. You had a protest there by a patriotic rally and a counter-protest by BLM Antifa. They were doing a soup drive, actually. And the protesters had already begun to leave. Their competing events were already winding down. And apparently, this is the story that we know so far, and I'm not going to get into anything we don't know. Apparently, a private security guard working for none other than Pinkerton, by the way, Pinkerton Risk Management, which is a takeoff of the mid-1800s Pinkerton Detective Agency of fame. You can look them up if you want to go down the rabbit hole of some really weird 19th century history, which appears to be an Antifa member or sympathizer. So I'm not sure why they hired him. I would think that would show up. I would think they would want to screen applicants for private security firms. Apparently this individual opened fire on several protesters, killed one of them, and injured another. Now, the allegation additionally is that bear spray was deployed by one of these individuals first. Now, I'm not sure about Colorado's laws specifically with regards to self-defense. I would think that getting hit with a less than lethal thing like bear spray in that situation would not be just cause to use lethal force. But even if it is, the problem is it only takes one person to deploy bear spray, I would think. So depending on whether the person that's dead or the person who's merely injured was the one who could potentially have been justifiably shot, I would think at the very least, potentially you'd be looking at negligent homicide, criminal recklessness or something like that. And you're looking at several years, maybe 10, 20 years in prison for this individual. It appears that he has a tattoo on one arm that is linked to Antifa. Again, that's the allegation, and it appears to check out. And also, even weirder, the security guard was being hired by the local 9 News, and one of their producers was actually briefly detained before the police figured out that they weren't involved. A Pinkerton security guard with Antifa ties shot and killed one person, shot and injured another during a kerfuffle there while working for the local news agency. Can this year get any weirder? I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole just talking about the story at the moment. And so it's a little bit fishy. Number one, exactly why would you need a private security guard, with an actual firearm, like willing to use lethal force? Why would the local news agency, which constantly calls these peaceful protests, why would they have an armed security guard? That's question number one. Question number two, why are the Pinkertons, I guess, not screening people for political fanaticism? Because Antifa is a movement, it is not an idea. That is clear. This is a weird story. And anyway, that just comports to everything else that's going on. And of course, it was the leftist who was using violence, but this won't be classed as a far-left terrorist act. This won't end up in the ADL's database. It won't end up amalgamated in the politically, fanatically motivated crimes listing on the SPLC website or something. It'll be ignored. Even if we find out that this dude has a shrine in his basement to Karl Marx and has been writing manifestos for the last 8 years, it'll probably end up getting classed as just general crime. Oh, well, it was just reckless. Yeah, but he was attacked by the militia, which will get labeled far right. And this is a patriotic rally. Trust me, there are people that are liberal that are patriotic and are tired of communists. In fact, I think that's probably the vast bulk of people. If you're at a place like Portland, there are precious few right-wingers in Portland or Seattle. If people are pissed off at BLM and Antifa for rioting and burning shit every night, I would think most of the people pissed off are left-leaning. By national standards, certainly. You're not going to get a whole lot of far-right wingers in San Francisco, Los Angeles, Austin and Denver, New York City, Chicago. These places are overwhelmingly blue. And I'm not just talking with neoliberal Democrats. You look at the city councils in some of these places, in Detroit, Chicago, and so forth, it's stacked with people that are to the left of Bernie Sanders. Well, it got in there for a reason. There's a reason why mainline Democrats don't even primary in those locations. They'd be too far right for these populations to ever vote for, and they're overwhelmingly left-leaning and Dem-leaning. So therein you have the problem. Now, hopefully, the individual here won't get released on $0 bail by some DA there who's sympathetic to the Antifa cause. We should check them for tattoos. They probably have a lot of hammer and sickles on their backs, too, I would imagine. Hopefully it'll be federal charges. Should be. I would think that this would fall under the general banner of political extremism. When you follow anarcho-communism, which is to say communism, you shouldn't be working for a security firm, and that security firm should probably step up and try to explain how this individual was hired by them in the first place. And then again, you have to look into any laws with regards to, can you, in a public space, in many states you have a duty to retreat. Now, I don't agree with it. I think you're well within your right to react with lethal force against non-lethal force if it's deployed in an open area. When you're firing several times and hitting someone who's not involved, that's at the very least reckless, potentially an accidental killing. And again, I'm not sure which one died, which one was just injured. That could be a charge. Certainly a civil case, but the actual self-defense shouldn't be classed as wrong. But if you are a political fanatic showing up at a political event and, you know, for some odd reason was chosen in that situation to be the security guard, like that was a really great idea, I suppose. Something smells rotten in Denmark. You can smell it from all the way here in the Netherlands. This is a weird story, and I wouldn't be surprised if there are additional strange details that come out. I wouldn't be surprised. 4chan will delve through this dude's potential web history and stuff and try to figure out his employment record and his views and you know, everything else. And I have a feeling we're going to get more throughout the day or the week that'll raise a few eyebrows. But keep in mind, because it's apparently a far-left fanatic individual who did the killing, you're not going to hear much about it from the mainline media. You'll get stories like, oh, one shot at far-right protest in Denver or something like that, and they'll neglect to mention the political leanings of the shooter. Or they'll make it a fluff piece to be like, well, he was attacked. You know, this violent, rabid, right-wing extremist deployed bear spray on him, potentially accidental in nature, and so was shot. And it was justified. Again, they won't look at Colorado's self-defense laws before making that judgment. That's about all. Peace out.